North Carroll High School. Beginning with the moment they became a Panther, they have worked towards history-making achievements. We had a very special highlight this year that I'd like to touch on when the announcement in April was made that North Carroll High School was awarded the National Green Ribbon Award. This is due to hard work by staff and students, and especially our assistant principal, Ms. Gina Felter, who worked these past 3 years to help us achieve this honor. I would also like to thank the more than 30 teachers and administrators from our feeder schools who are also in attendance this evening. Thank you for joining us to help celebrate the class of 2014. Speaker to the podium for some remarks.
Friends, faculty, family, and fellow graduates. Throughout school, we are constantly reminded of the same things. In elementary school, we were told to mind our manners, always share with our classmates, and wash our hands before we eat. As we continued on into middle school, we were reminded, do our work, make good decisions, and set goals. The list goes on and on. At some point throughout the past 12 years, many of you have probably been told at one time or another that everyone can make a difference in the world. After all, President John F. Kennedy said, one person can make a difference, and everyone should try. When hearing this quote, many of you may shake it off. We hear stories of people like Mark Zuckerberg, the creator of Facebook, who went from being a college student to a billionaire by simply creating a website. We hear about Bill Gates, the founder of Microsoft Windows, who dropped out of college and continued on to become one of the most well-known entrepreneurs in computers today. We hear about Martin Luther King Jr., who defied all odds against him and fought against discrimination to become one of the most well-known humanitarian activists in history. We are told that these people could be us, that we could be the next Mark Zuckerberg, Bill Gates, or Martin Luther King Jr. For a moment, many of us are briefly inspired, but after thinking about it, we realize the odds are not in our favor of becoming a billionaire. We get to thinking that becoming as well-known as Martin Luther King Jr. is seemingly impossible. We realize that our shot at making a difference isn't really so high. However, making a difference does not always have to be defined as making lots of money or headlines in the news. In fact, sometimes those who make the most difference go completely unrecognized and unrewarded. I am not here today to tell you to go out there and make a change in the world. I am not here to provide you with a reason of why you should motivate yourself to go out there and do something big. I am simply here to suggest you rethink the meaning of making a difference, or maybe even think about it for the first time. To make a difference in the world, we do not have to invent something huge or start a major charity which sweeps across the nation, making millions and millions of dollars. I would like to suggest that we practice simple acts of kindness. I would like to suggest that we do something simply because it is the right thing to do, not because somebody told us to or because it will help us out in the end. I'm here to talk about standing up for what is right, even when those around us are trying to bring us down. Today's society is programmed to shut down anyone who stands out. When standing up and speaking out on something, even if it is the right thing, there will be many people out there who will mock you, belittle you, call you names, and target you simply for doing something that you feel is right, in Martians being different, even if it is in a good way. As a result, people in today's society are scared to stand up. We are scared to speak out for fear of being judged. We are embarrassed to stand out and be different from those around us. We are fearful of being criticized for being ourselves and doing what we believe in. And I'm sure many of you sitting in front of me today find this to be incredibly sad. It doesn't seem right that standing out because you are doing the right thing will get you judged, mocked, and targeted by others. This is something that is so incredibly important to overcome. Every single person in the world has the ability to do something incredible to help others. Whether it is sitting with and getting to know the boy who sits alone at lunch. Whether it is helping someone who is a little shorter than you reach something on a high-up shelf at the grocery store. Whether it is assisting a classmate or coworker who is struggling to complete their work, or whether it is telling your favorite teacher or professor that you appreciate them. The fear of what those around us say and do should not stop us from doing what our conscience says is right. It should not stop us from getting to know the boy who eats his sandwich alone. It should not stop us from helping a random stranger in the grocery store. It should not stop us to offer to tutor a classmate who is struggling, and it should not stop us from writing a short thank you card to a math teacher who has gone the extra mile to help us to understand calculus. We may assume that doing something as small as giving a random stranger a compliment couldn't possibly make a difference, but this random act of kindness can spread so quickly without us even knowing. This stranger may be so inspired by your act that they do the same for someone else, who does the same for someone else, and so on. As we continue through life, we continuously learn more and more about who we are and who we are meant to be. It is very easy to get sucked into the common attitude of only worrying about ourselves. What can make me more money? What can get me a better job? What can help me to improve my social status? We must not continuously ask ourselves what can improve our own lives, but what can help those around us. We must ask ourselves when the last time was that we did something selfless. We must not forget that by one act of kindness we can change a life. After all, making a difference is not so hard, and sometimes the smallest acts are what matter the most. Amelia Earhart said, "No kind action ever stops with itself. One kind action leads to another." Good example is followed. A single act of kindness throws out roots in all directions, and the roots spring up and make new trees. The greatest work that kindness does to others is that it makes them kind themselves. We are always told to go outside our comfort zone and do something big to make a difference. But making a difference does not have to be big. Plant a metaphorical tree and let its roots spread. One act of kindness can lead to another, which could lead to another. One small act could be enough to start a movement. One small act could change a life. One small act could change your life. Thank you.
Thank you, Hannah. At this time, I would like to recognize
Hannah Bailey Boudreau. Blake Lewis Domino. Alexander James Panagakis.